You're listening to the Manage My Home podcast, the podcast for property owners who would like help with their rental properties. This show is based on the RPM WV Phoenix team's experience in leasing and managing homes and will give you useful advice and tips to succeed with your rental property. And now, from Phoenix, Arizona, here is Lisa from RPM WV Phoenix.
This is Lisa, and thank you for joining me for our Manage My Home Holiday podcast. Today we're going to talk about something very relevant actually to the end of the year, and that is changing property management companies. We have a lot of clients that come over to us from other property management companies and usually have a lot of questions when they are starting this process. So we're going to break this podcast into kind of two segments. The first segment is going to be things to do before you actually terminate your contract with your current property manager. And the second step is going to be actually terminating the contract with your current property manager. So prior to terminating, we recommend the following things. First, and most importantly, read your current agreement. Check for the termination clause. How much notice do you have to give? Are you going to have any type of monetary penalty with changing services? We recommend doing that first before you even start looking for another company because, let's say, for example, you're in a contract and you have another 10, 11 months on it before you could terminate without penalty. Well, it's not going to do you a whole lot of good to get information now, as the property management company's pricing could change by the time you're ready to switch companies. So after you've read your agreement and you know that you're within 30, 60 days when you can terminate, then the next thing to do is to make sure that you have all the copies of your executed lease agreements and all addendums. So if there's any renewals in place or if there's been any lease addendums to make changes. Also, make sure you have or try to obtain a copy of the tenant signed move-in inspection. Your property management company may try to provide you with a move-in inspection that has been signed by one of their staff members. Unfortunately, that will not do you very much good if you end up in court with the tenant over a disputes from move-out. So you do want to make sure that you obtain one that the tenant has signed when they moved in. Try to obtain invoices for any larger expenses, just so this way you know if you replaced a fridge recently, an AC, a water heater, things like that a new property management company, of course, wouldn't know. And then also make sure that you have your transaction privilege tax license number. And if you own multiple properties, make sure that you have any of your online login information, because this will be important information that you're going to want to pass on to your new property management company. So once you have all of those things in place, and you know how you go about terminating your contract, then it's good to give written notice that you would like to terminate and to request in writing the tenant contact information, the security deposit, what the procedure is, whether they'll be sending that check to you, whether they'll send the check to the new property management company, keys, any keys that they have on file for the home. And a tenant ledger is always very helpful to get if they'll provide it. This just shows everything that the tenant was charged throughout the lease term and all the payments they made. So that this way, for example, if the tenant has like a prepayment on file for rent, you're going to want to track that to make sure that they send that back to the tenant. It'll also show you exactly how much of a security deposit they collected. And it will also show if the tenant has a prepayment of rent on file, because that should be sent back directly to the tenant. So just to summarize, you're going to want to make sure that you have for the new property manager all executed lease agreements and addendums, move-in inspections signed by the tenant if available, invoices for any of the larger expenses that your current property manager has done for you, your transaction privilege tax license number and any online logins if applicable, your tenant contact information, your security deposit, keys to the property, as well as a tenant ledger. We thank you for joining us, and we hope you have a great holiday season.